Can't stop the train, baby. Woo!
Of MLG Dallas, we have the answer to life, the universe, and everything on the show this week. No, really, it's just round 42. Hopefully you get the reference. But besides that, we did just have an awesome event this past weekend. Dallas, we had a lot of teams at the event. We're going to be talking about that here on the show today. And then also recently, a few tweets were sent out by MLG Sundance talking about the future of MLG. There's some really cool things in store. We're going to talk about those in our roundtable discussion later on. But first things first, the results at Dallas. What do you guys think? Do you think it was a good event?
From judging from the stream I was watching, the quality was a little low, but they have the upgrade HD if you wanted to pay, but I didn't, so I was just watching kind of meh quality of stream. But other than that, I watched some great matches of Halo 3. Was really bored of Halo Reach. Didn't watch Call of Duty. StarCraft 2 had some great matches, a lot of upsets actually too. And I did not really get the chance to follow Brawl or Tekken. Tekken was over before I even knew it. And Brawl, it's too hard to follow with just reading of blog posts.
Yeah, it's just not interesting. Having to sit at home for this one. You got the results and could nod politely. But I thought they did a really good job with StarCraft. I thought all that went really well. We'll talk about that in a little more detail. And overall, I think Reach has some tweaks to go through. And Halo 3, just like DC, I thought it was everything it should have been, which is really cool that sort of Halo 3 went out the way it did.
Yeah, I was really happy that it went out with a bang. And honestly, I didn't ever really enjoy watching Halo 3 before, but in DC I really enjoyed it. And watching the live stream, I was just enticed and just glued to the screen, watching every moment just for that great moments. Even Walshy impressed me, and that's saying something because I hate him with a passion.
Yeah, that's not usually one of your favorite people. So, well, we've got special guests on the show to talk a little bit about Halo and all things Reach and everything like that. We're joined once again by zLogic and IceVayne. So zLogic, IceVayne, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
What's up, guys? Great to be back again.
All right, well, let's get right down to it. Halo 3, the end of the season, the end of Halo 3. Let's start with you, IceVayne. What'd you think?
For the Halo 3 event, obviously my prediction of Final Boss winning the event came true. I just thought there was just no way they weren't going to take advantage of the opportunity to three-peat and win another national championship. I was very surprised with the status quo and how much fire and energy T-Squared brought to them just with being a coach for them. That just really surprised me, and I'm glad they finally broke their curse of top 4 and getting top 2 this event.
Yeah, I think that at Major League Gaming did everybody a benefit. I thought that T-Squared did coaching a big benefit. I thought something that when I sort of noticed it, because, I didn't really know he was going to coach. And then I was like, wow, and then as people started tweeting and as I started hearing things back, people were like, he's doing a good job. He's firing up the team, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Ray, you've been a coach before. Let's first talk about what you thought overall about Halo 3, and then let's talk a little bit about what T-Squared brought status quo.
Overall, with Halo 3, I thought it was a good end. I was really impressed with how status quo placed. I predicted them to place top 3, and they ended up getting second. So I think T-Squared definitely had a big hand in that. He's a national champion. He knows a lot about the game. He's been with a couple different coaches like such as Lammy, who he's been with for a couple of years throughout Halo 2 and the beginning of Halo 3. His prior knowledge of what it takes to win a national championship. He's probably talked to a couple of coaches to see exactly what he needed to do, but overall he already knew what it takes, like what the players need from a coach and what it takes to have a good coach and for what it means to be a good coach.
Yeah, everybody said to me that they really enjoyed Halo 3's sort of grand finale. I think Final Boss is on a roll, and I don't think there's anything else to say about it. So goodbye to Halo 3. It was quite the journey. And we got the exhibition for Reach.
So onward we move now into new territory with Halo Reach, and boy, this event had quite a few seeding upsets, I gotta tell you. I was really surprised to see some of the lower seeds really making a big push far into the tournament, and, IceVayne, I've gotta ask, because you experienced this firsthand, what did you think of the tournament? How did the teams play? How did Ambush play? Give us your thoughts.
I thought for the most part the tournament was ran pretty well. Obviously, I've never experienced a tournament like this in all the MLGs I've ever been to with the format of 2 Slayers and Objective. This is usually just a combine format of game types. That was quite different for us as we didn't drop one objective game except when we played Sicker Than Your Average, who won the event. It seemed that going into the event, game types seemed a little bit more iffy as you started playing against better teams. And it was just basically a luck of a draw in certain situations what would be happening. A lot of people seem to have found glitches even on land with the armor lock ability. People be standing straight up and be in it, and nobody would know if he's actually in it or not. Besides that, us, Ambush, definitely a new thing with us only having 2.5 weeks of playing the game, and especially a lot of personal stuff for our team. We were able to dissect a lot of the issues we had from DC to Dallas with our communication problems and was able to handle that pretty quick. The only thing we were just lacking on was just practice who all these teams that were up there have been playing together since the beta or been playing every single version of the game type since the game has come out for 2.5 months. So that was just basically we just lacked experience in all the game types, unlike all the other teams did.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that, you really can't complain losing a close match to the people in the tournament. Overall, I thought it wasn't too bad. But, Ray, you can comment too. Did you think the game was a little bit glitchy? Do you think there were things definitely that need to change?
The biggest thing that I saw as far as glitches, like Adam said, was the armor lock. And, I saw some people do some crazy things with the armor lock. There was one situation where a player got beat down, his shields went away, he armor locked, and then came out of it, he got stuck, and then armor locked again, and then the nade blew up, and it didn't kill him.
Yeah, so I think that, armor lock's definitely going to need to be reviewed. Do you foresee a patch? Do you guys see it being removed? Has there been any conversation yet?
I haven't heard of any specific conversation as far as a patch or things being removed. I honestly don't believe that it'll be patched, but I could see MLG removing it in some future iteration of the MLG settings.
I personally would say armor lock would just need to be taken out completely. I don't believe Bungie will care about what it's doing on LAN, about the armor lock, to go out and patch it up. Considering, a lot of other teams want them just to patch the theater mode where everybody can watch it in 4-person mode. That will be hard enough to get that fixed. And then now we're going to be asking them to try to fix armor lock. In my dream world of MLG game types, I would just like to see, if anything, no armor abilities whatsoever. And if there was an armor ability, I would just like to see jetpack or hologram or the both of them combined. I don't think any of the other armor abilities really need to be implemented into the gameplay to try to diverse it or make it entertaining to the spectators.
All right, guys, I have one question I want to ask you guys. Something really interesting that happened. zLogic, let's start with you. What would you say was the most interesting thing that kind of went down in the Halo community at the finals?
Well, on Sunday during, or right before the Halo 3 finals, usually Puckett, Gandhi, and Shockwave do a little intro into the finals, into the big matches and stuff like that. And during that, what they were usually doing between matches is with the main stage, they would have people sit for one series, have people line up, and they would evacuate the main stage and get a new group of people in. But for some reason on Sunday, they didn't do that for the finals, so a bunch of people lined up on the side, waited an hour until the semifinals or the losers bracket finals were over, expected their turn to sit down, and didn't get it for whatever reason. So right when MLG went live, they're doing their intro, this group of 60, 70 people started a "let us sit" chant.
Let us sit, huh? Adam, you were there. Is that true?
That is true. Then the main bleachers came back with the chant, "Hell no, we won't go."
Let us sit. Hell no, we won't go. Oh, that's awesome. Well, I mean, I'm glad that the guys chanted because I'm a big fan of Major League Gaming getting seats. So I think that's important, and I think that's something Sundance is well aware of and something he's going to obviously work on for next season. But I guess it was inevitable that it was going to happen, and glad to see people finally got vocal about it. It's funny that when you violate the people's expectations, they can be very, very upset, and hopefully they learn that lesson. Speaking of violating and upset, IceVayne, did you get a technical at Dallas?
That I did.
So tell us, who was the team and what made you say bad things?
I believe the team name was called Source. Decliner, Prawn, Eli X, and Chaos is Easy. Chaos is from Texas, and we played the first game, and we found out it's our worst game type, Reflection TS. We ended up losing the game by like 2-3 kills, something like that. I played absolutely awful in the game, and I told all my guys on my team, I was like, hey, that was my fault completely, 100%. I had like 4 kills and 11 deaths, something like that. It was awful. It was really embarrassing, and somebody on the other team decided to peep out and say, IceVayne, you suck. And so I didn't take too kindly to that, and so in the second game, I came up really clutch and saved us from losing the game when our whole team was down, and we ended up winning when we were down by a cap with 3 seconds before the 15-minute mark, and then ended up winning the game. I stood up and told them to all look in my face and told them how much they choked for at least a good solid 30 seconds. And then I continue on going to the third game, telling them, looking across the TVs to look into my eyes and told them how much they sucked.
I guess after 30 seconds, the ref said we need to calm this guy down, and they gave you technical.
Well, during the third game, everybody got so riled up after my shit talk that everybody else on my team started shit talking them. Basically, I think we were on the verge if we talked any more shit after the third game, we were about to get disqualified. So our coach just told us, hey, settle down. You guys are about to get disqualified.
And you won that match overall, correct?
Yes, we did. We ended up dominating them on Countdown TS, staked them like 50-27.
Yeah, that's a lesson to all you shit talkers out there. Learn the, I'm going to use another World War II reference since the last World War II reference I used was so popular. But this time it's from the other perspective. Learn the lesson that the Japanese learned at Pearl Harbor, which is after they were done bombing Pearl Harbor, obviously, for those of you who are history buffs, they were really going after the U.S. aircraft carriers, which were not at Pearl Harbor. And the Japanese admiral in charge of that Pearl Harbor invasion task force was a guy by the name of Admiral Yamamoto. And Yamamoto is famously quoted for saying, all we have done today is woken a sleeping giant. So if you're going to shit talk people, be real careful that you're not shit-talking people who have a lot of experience and have played at the pro level. Because you may very well awaken the sleeping giant and find yourself shitted on. Words of advice. That's all I'm saying. Before we leave Reach real quick, IceVayne, one thing you would want to see changed and fixed for the next season, what do you think Major League Gaming has to change most? The maps? Which power-ups are used, or do you think the game needs a lot of tweaking?
Personally, I would just like to see a better system of maps made from Forge, hopefully not with a lot of frame rate lag. Game types just obviously tweaking with some maps having, touch return on the flag or, even the 3-second return that we were used to in Halo 3. Besides that, I think wise with the game, don't really need a patch for DMR or anything like that. I just think it's mostly settings. MLG just needs to find their own groove and their own niche of game types.
Okay, and what about you, zLogic? What would you change about the game itself, the settings? What are one thing you'd want to see changed?
One thing I would like to see changed in the off-season with Halo Reach is I would honestly like to see the armor abilities taken out just because of the armor lock, the things you can do with that. And even sometimes the jetpack allows you to do some crazy things. So that's the big thing I'm hoping that happens at some point between now and the opener is the armor abilities get taken out.
All right, guys, I really appreciate your input, and we've got a long off season in front of us with a lot of opportunities to build teamwork and prepare for next season. So I'm sure we'll be talking a lot in the off season. Thanks a lot, guys.
As I say all the time, one of my favorite events at MLG, StarCraft 2. This tournament was no exception. Tons of huge upsets, amazing results. Hey, Idra even showed up. We didn't even know he was going to be there. So let's get some insight on the event. We've got our StarCraft manager from VVV Gaming here to join us. VVV Roar, how are you doing today, sir?
Hey guys, doing pretty good. How you all doing?
Great. Glad to have you on the show, my man. So I know that you were watching the stream the whole weekend. Tell us your thoughts on the event.
It was a really cool event. I mean, obviously, a lot of upsets. Idra didn't even make, I think, top 16, if I recall.
Hold on, wait. Could you say that again, please?
Idra didn't make top 16.
What?
Wait.
Just wait. One more time.
Idra did not qualify the top 16 players.
Oh, there's a little part of me that feels so warm inside. Well, I know that I made a prediction in DC that he wasn't going to win, and he did. But I'd like to say there is some vindication here for me. No? Don't I get a little bit of credit? Everybody had gaga eyes over Idra. Very, very beatable. And Dallas was my vindication. So that's all I'm going to say. But go ahead. Say that just one more time more. Humor me.
Idra did not manage to qualify for the top 16 spots.
Oh, that warms my heart. All right, continue. Tell us about who did qualify and tell us about some of the other exciting upsets and matches.
Well, going in, I had actually Jinro or Rhett taking first place, and Liquid Jinro managed to win. And kind of surprising, 4 of the 8 Liquid players that went finished in the top 8. I don't have the exact ratings in front of me, but I know Jinro finished first, TT1 from Fnatic finished second, Pain User finished third, and he's now on Lazarus Gaming. And 4th place, I don't remember who that was, but I think it might have been another Liquid member. So, I mean, pretty exciting overall. 3 basically people that didn't qualify very high overall last time around ended up taking 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, we had a ton of really big-name players at this event as well. The Little One was there. Huck, of course. Their match was pretty intense as well. The match that Little One actually knocked Huck out of the tournament. That, I think, was a big surprise to people that, some big names were knocked out so early. Any big-name upset that sticks out to you? Any favorite matches that you had from the tournament that resulted in big upsets? Talk to us about that.
Obviously, the biggest upset I probably had was a guy named Exodus, a Protoss player, beating VVV Rigid. It's kind of disappointing. Rigid actually told me after the game he wanted to go out back and kick the shit out of the kid because he basically cheesed him all 3 games. He was able to win 1 game but lost 2 of them, and he was really, really upset with it because he's beaten the guy plenty of times on ladder. I think he said he has like an 80% win percentage over him, and he was just really upset about the whole thing. So many upsets, I can't even name them all. Obviously, Select losing was a big upset. He was a really big guy going into this. Oh my god, I know there was a huge match in Sake versus someone played. I think it was like 56-minute match. I can't recall who it was, but I know it was super intense. I remember watching on the stream, and I was just kind of like, it just went on forever.
There was a lot going on, and I was going to come back to the Select upset because, to be honest, I thought Select did better than he did in DC. What do you think?
I mean, just because there was 128 players, I think he did do better. There was so much more talent that came to this. And he played really solid. He was actually able to stick in the winners round a lot, or the winners bracket a lot longer, which was, really surprising. And he played pretty solid, but I think he just had a few misclicks when he actually went down and lost. I mean, obviously he took down Idra in the losers bracket 2-0 after getting completely stomped at Idra at DC. So that was pretty exciting to watch.
Do you think that surprised a lot of people?
Definitely. I mean, in DC, he even made it in chat saying, I don't have any good Zerg partners to practice against. My ZVT is terrible, and it really showed. I mean, DC is basically, Idra just smacked him around, and then over here in Dallas, Select just pretty much did the exact opposite to him, and I think credit goes out to Machine. He actually ended up practicing with Machine a lot, and Machine did really amazing in the tournament, too, after getting knocked around in Raleigh and DC. So, I mean, credit goes out to Machine for Select just honing that TVZ skills.
Yeah, I mean, I think, to be honest, Major League Gaming has found its PC title. I think StarCraft is here to stay. The stream numbers were fantastic. On the ground, people that were there were involved. You're getting cross-pollination. People who don't normally play StarCraft are starting to recognize who the top StarCraft players are by look, which is really important, that facial recognition. So it seems to me that StarCraft is a winner. You know, I think Major League Gaming, I suspect, will give StarCraft a lot more equal billing to reach come next season. And I think that's going to be fantastic for everybody. Let's talk a little bit more, though, about Rigid's journey. Was this his first major LAN event? Is that correct?
Yeah, and actually he was super nervous about it. He kept texting me and yelling at me saying, you know, I don't have my baby with me. We're pretty gay together, so you know how it goes. I always call him Ridgy and stuff, so he was really upset saying he's bored. I think he wanted to go down to Dallas every morning at 7 o'clock to play on the computers, but they wouldn't let him. So he was really upset about that because, I mean, I think he said he has a 32-inch widescreen at home. This one was only like a 24, so it's a huge change to him. And then the way they had practice set up is you could only play one game, and then they would boot you off the computer, and then you would have to wait in line and play another game. So he said it was just really annoying, per se, for him to continually change his settings for every single game he went and played.
Yeah, I think that's something that we'll be asking, you know, you and the StarCraft community to help out with, is figure out a better way to do that. What would be a better way? Because remember, Major League Gaming does console games all the time, and there really aren't changes per se that people really have to worry about. And obviously on the PC, there are more changes that we could talk about just in this. And I can completely understand how it'd be frustrating for players when they really obviously feel nervous, they want to warm up, it's all part of their mental game. So we'll be asking the community about that. But let's talk about Rigid's actual games. Give us a quick overview of some of the highlights, what you thought, or maybe in talking to him, what he felt he did well, and what is something he definitely feels he has to work on.
All right, so game one, obviously, you know, he just played some complete scrub, and I knew he completely walked over him. They didn't stream it. I watched the replays, though. It was pretty one-sided. He won 2-0. And then, unlucky for him, he was placed up against Hydra, and he was going into it saying that's the one person he didn't want to play because Hydra beat him 4 times going in on ladder, like 2 nights before, going ZVZ. And first game, he ended up getting 10 pulled when he went fast hatchery, which is essentially he had no chance to block his lings, so he was pretty much dominated. Second game was a huge macro game, and I really, really thought Rigid was going to take it, but just missed micro, and Hydra just had a little bit better macro, and he was able to squeeze it out. So I thought for sure he was going to go 1-1, and that was going to be a big confidence booster. Because, I mean, really for Rigid, that first game he played, he said he didn't feel warmed at all. Like, the kid he played was just so bad that he's like, I could have been nervous and, like, not even built drones and probably won this match. So he was really nervous going to the Hydra game. Then afterwards, he's knocked down into loser's bracket, beat another pretty simple kid again. 2-0, like, I don't remember the exact names. He ended up playing Exodus later on in the loser's bracket, and it was a bit unfortunate. And he lost 2-1. And then right after that, he was going to play In Control, and I think it was kind of nice of him because he actually warned In Control that the kid only cheeses. So In Control actually, like, countered his cheese both games and beat him.
Well, hopefully Rigid learned a lot. I mean, that's a large part about being in VV Gaming. And I want to highlight something for those of you that are listening that may get missed. As Paradise mentioned, Roar is the manager of our StarCraft 2 division. And Roar has been tasked with finding good players who are really, in many ways, new to the competitive scene and really are going to go out there, develop their skills, and become better players. One thing that I found funny is all the things that players will tell you when they're nervous and they're worried about how they can play. I want to give everybody a step back into the Gears of War days when we started with VVV Vision. This would be back in 2007. And I can remember the first 2 events with Puff. What you just talked about, all of Rigid's nervousness, was all the kind of chatter Puff would sort of give when he was like, I don't feel good. Why won't they let us warm up? All these same complaints I have probably heard now dozens of times from players who I've had the privilege of working very closely with. So for those of you listening, if you have a good relationship with your players, the way Roar does, then you can tell that you have a trusted manager. So that speaks highly of you, Roar. So good job.
Thank you. I love my players, so that works out just fine. I always enjoy seeing them do well, and then I crack the whip, when they don't do well.
No, I mean, I think that's fantastic. And it's really great to see those players get this level of experience. And we have so much to plan for next season. And there's a long off season of practice, and there will obviously be online tournaments. And I think StarCraft is clearly going to be the dominant PC title now. And I think that's fantastic for Major League Gaming. It's fantastic for competition. It's fantastic that, all of Major League Gaming is not dominated by shooters. So on probably every level, this is fantastic for everyone. So that's great.
Not to mention fantastic, the stream for MLG Dallas has gotten so much better, at least in regards to StarCraft 2. Commentary, Day9 and DJ Wheat did absolutely phenomenal. I have to give a big shout out to them for this. They did absolutely wonderful on the stream. The commentary was great. They made each match sound exciting. I was very into it, so I think that actually really helped the people that were at home watching this event really get into the game. I really do agree with you, Jerry. This is a huge title for MLG. They found their PC title. This is fantastic.
I got to say something, though. I mean, looking at Day9 and DJ Wheat and comparing, to what we had before, I'm going to say this with all respect to Day9, who I don't know personally, but still did a good job. DJ Wheat is just in a class of his own. I'm just going to be honest. After watching it, I tweeted to Wheat, basically saying he did a phenomenal job. And I told Sundance, contract this guy. If Marcus is willing to work on some kind of basis with Major League Gaming, I think he's carved his niche out as the personality, the commentator. He has the voice, the understanding of the game, the knowledge of the players, and it feels very professional. So I just hope that relationship deepens. And, I hope we associate our sort of North American commentator, the person who we listen to when we're watching StarCraft 2. I just hope that DJ Wheat is that person. So overall, I agree with you. We did a fantastic job.
Definitely, Jerry. Although I think I'll differ with you on one thing here. I like Day9 almost as much as I like DJ Wheat's commentary. Together, they make a really good pair. Here's why I say that. DJ Wheat has the great voice. He has a very commanding commentating atmosphere about him. But Day9, he's got such knowledge of the game. He's been playing StarCraft for 10 plus years at this point. He knows the game inside and out, and he can predict what strategies are being used. Together as a commentating team, I think that MLG has a winning combination there.
I don't know. I was kind of thinking that watching the stream myself personally, I kind of felt that DJ Wheat was really definitely overshadowing Day9. I didn't get any of that genius of Day9 watching. I felt that he was more just agreeing with what DJ Wheat was saying. During that whole stream, I was just thinking they really need to get someone to compliment DJ Wheat more.
Well, let's ask Roar. Roar, did you watch the stream, right?
Of course, I was all over it all weekend.
What did you think?
Well, I mean, there was points and times where I did see that happening, but then other times, I'm pretty knowledgeable of the game. I like to feel, but Day9 would point out something, and then 5 minutes later, you'll see that exact thing happening. And I think that was nice knowledge to have for those people that are newer out into the game. And you'd be like, Day9's basically saying, listen, this is 80% of the time you'll see this about to happen. Then 2 minutes later in the game, you see that exact thing happen. And I think that's basically where I think Day9 has it over DJ Wheat, is where he's just able to point out that kind of thing, where he's able to predict what the player's going to do just because he has that experience.
All right, well then I'll be fair to Day9 because I didn't really see any of that, but I also didn't watch every match and every stream that they were doing. I can only speak from what I've seen, so.
Rory, you bring up an interesting point. The macro analysis at times, the strategic for those who don't play StarCraft 2, you do have a point. Day9 does have a good feel for the pacing and sort of what the next steps are as you start to evaluate a player's strategy. So I'll be fair and I'll agree with you on that. But either way, I agree with Jason. Shout out to both of them, and good job on the stream overall.
While we're on the subject of DJ Wheaton Day 9, yet again, when there was the technical difficulties at the one point in the weekend, the show match that they did to keep the viewers entertained, pretty awesome. Roar, do you want to talk about that for a minute?
Yeah, it was pretty hilarious. I mean, you had Day 9 there just cracking jokes, and DJ Wheat knew that Day 9 was pretty much going to stomp him, but it was still pretty hilarious. I mean, you have two guys sitting right next to each other. Day 9 decides to go random. Wheat decides to go Zerg. They both get Zerg versus Zerg on a pretty terrible map. No one likes it, Desert Oasis. So you see him spawn over there and everything, and Day 9 says, well, I can see Wheat going spawn and pull now, so I better put mine down just in case he tries to Zergling rush me. And it was pretty funny. It got to the point where DJ Wheat was putting his screen in like a black area and then just building buildings off the minimap so Day 9 couldn't see what he was building, and he would actually have to scout, and it got to be pretty comical.
The show must go on, they say. So, yeah, I didn't get to see that, so that's really cool to hear that they pulled that one out a little impromptu, so that's good.
And speaking of the show must go on, we do need to move on to Brawl. Roar, thank you so much for stopping by, and hopefully we'll get you back on the show sometime here in the future.
Thanks a lot, guys. It was fun. Look forward to VVSC2, murdering the scenes in upcoming events. Hopefully we can get like 5+ players out there.
Awesome. Well, we are looking forward to that as well. Now, I'm looking forward to this next conversation that's coming up here as well. We've got VV Cheese on the show this week to talk about his experiences with Brawl in Dallas. Cheese, how you doing today, buddy?
Doing good. Starting to recover from the weekend.
Awesome. I heard you had quite the I was going to make a really bad joke about you dropping chain grabs, but you know what?
Do it.
No. But I
definitely do it, because I will if you won't.
Jesus.
Jesus?
Jesus.
Yeah, I think that's what Cheese was saying after he kept dropping
Oh,
his
my
chain.
God.
Oh,
Now we're talking about Cheese's masturbation habits. Let's get away from that.
Whoa.
Let's go right to where we need to be.
All right, so the biggest topic of conversation from what I've heard at Dallas was that Cheese actually wore a hat.
I did, in fact, wear a hat at Ryan's request.
Yay! It didn't work, though. I'm sorry.
Yeah, totally your fault.
What I do want to know, Albert, what could the crowd possibly chant to you now that you wore the hat?
I don't know. No one cheered against me. It was kind of weird. Maybe that's what messed me up. I don't know.
Wow. Yeah, you're used to being the antagonist, and all of a sudden, like, man, no one cares? Like, what?
People are actually cheering for me. I'm so lost.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the hat story. Tell everybody who doesn't know about the hat how this all came about, what the hat was. So tell everybody what we're talking about.
All right. DM Brandon decided to make a really silly blog about me, calling me ugly, and my hair is messy. So I made something stupid like, how would you even know what my hair looks like? I'm always wearing a hat at tournaments, which I do. DM Brandon's like, I've never seen you in a hat in my entire life. So I happened to not wear a hat to MLGDC. And DM Brandon was like, oh my God, he's not wearing a hat. So everyone in the crowd started screaming, where's your hat? When I was playing against Kiraflax. And it went on and on and on for 20 minutes. Where's your hat? Where's your hat? So I thought it was kind of stupid, personally, but whatever makes people happy, I guess. But then when we headed to Dallas, Ryan said I should wear a hat on the podcast last week, so I humored him. But I don't think anyone said anything about it, so I kind of killed the hype. I was a little upset.
Sorry. Well, I figured, it was big talk in D.C., Go to Dallas, it should work, right?
I don't know. It was not a good weekend for me. I'm still a little salty.
Well, give us the rundown. What exactly happened? How did Brawl go? What was your matches like? Who'd you face? Give us the rundown.
All right. Well, forgetting about me for the moment because I'm still upset. The weekend was amazing. Everything was so hype. I mean, I've never seen anything like this. It's so much more exciting when M2K is not there. Like, my God. I mean, we had a Diddy winning, a Pikachu coming in third, and most amazingly, 2 Sonics, not 1 Sonic, but 2 Sonics breaking the top 8 and making over $1,000. I'm still confused.
To be fair, though, I mean, it is a good sign that, look, when you don't have one player who always dominates, things become more interesting. And to be fair, and, said this kind of before. I think that, after the whole way things went down, it's good for Brawl that this happened. One, to expose this terrible practice, but two, more importantly, to mix up the event. Let's talk a little bit. Let's go back into when we start to see the upsets start to happen. What was the first one, would you say, was the major Brawl upset?
I was busy playing because I actually lasted pretty long in the bracket. But then I start to hear, after I lose, people are telling me that both Sonics are still in winner's bracket. And I'm like, oh my God, how are two Sonics in winner's bracket? And then they're like, yeah, they're beating everybody. I mean, they're taking them all out. I've never seen anything like this. So I start to watch the matches, and I just see insanity. I mean, I see these Sonics just taking good players and making them look silly. It was amazing to me. I'm so lost. The most exciting upset that I watched outside of the major championship matches was when X played Lee Martin, and he drops a spring on Lee Martin on the last stock when he's about to lose. And he kills Lee Martin by pushing him under the stage after forcing Lee Martin off of Meta Knight. And he dies under the stage at low percent to take the set with like a minute left. And that won him like $1,000. It was phenomenal. It was insane.
That sounds extremely exciting. I wish we could have gotten the chance to see it. Of course, we all know the issues with the stream. We've been talking about it for 5 events now. Seeding upset-wise, I did hear that Havoc, number 1 seed, was upset. Quite a few of the favorites for the event were knocked to lower bracket really early. Any other major upsets that you want to share with us?
One of the weirdest things I've ever seen in my entire life was Havoc losing an MK Ditto to Domo. Domo is not a bad player by any stretch, but he's from a weird region that doesn't have a lot of activity. He doesn't win very much. And he got 2-0'd by Domo, who I'm still actually not sure who that is.
What do you mean by not knowing who it is?
I mean, generally you know who the top players are. Like, you hear about them. You see, I read results a lot, so I usually, I know who the top players in each region are. I had to ask like 3 people who Domo was before I found out. And then I found out he was a Meta Knight player that's slightly above average, and that Havoc lost the Ditto to him 2-0. And I was like, I still don't believe it, but okay. You don't get 2-0'd by lesser Meta Knights when you're Havoc. That shouldn't happen.
Talk to us a little bit about the finals. What did you think about the finals?
The finals, I mean, the top 5 was just so crazy. I mean, the final match itself was sort of boring because GNS is a better player than Tyrant, and he just simply 3-0'd him even on the bad stages. But matches like SB versus Ally and SB versus ESAM. SB versus ESAM went to Game 5, last hit, and ESAM pulls off some ridiculously clutch thunder to kill him. It was insane. ESAM versus Tyrant was so hype. ESAM was playing to the crowd. He was taunting constantly and like turning around the crowd, trying to get him to cheer for him. Everyone making Pokemon jokes. Had a whole 150 people screaming at the top of their lungs, screaming, Pikachu! It was so cool. And ESAM is one of the nicest matchers, so it was really nice to see him do amazing.
What were the final placements?
GNS won, and he didn't drop any games except one to ESAM. He just blew everybody away, running straight through amateur bracket into championship bracket. It was crazy. Second was Tyrant, who squeaked out a win against ESAM, which was really a really fun match to watch. ESAM got 3rd, Ally got 4th. SB and X, the two Sonics, got 5th and 6th. Lee Martin was 7th, Atomisk was 8th, Mike Hayes 9th, Dojo 10th. DEHF, who I still should have beaten, was 11th. MJG, a relatively unknown Toon Link, top 12. Rich Brown, Nick Riddle, Fatal Matt, and Logic round out the top 16.
Gotcha, okay. Well, good.
I'm still salty.
Aside from you being salty, though, it sounds like it was an absolute hell of an event. Did you at least have a good time?
It was phenomenal. Everyone was so hyped. Everyone was so nice. Everyone but Mewtwo King, I guess, because he decided to show up anyway and just walk around complaining the whole weekend.
Did he really?
Yeah, he did. He walked around. I heard him talking to a reporter saying about how he was banned only to make the results more interesting or something stupid like that. It was ridiculous. He was screaming the whole time. It was just annoying.
Yeah, the mighty have fallen. It's what happens. And in a way, it's probably good. I mean, I hope Mewtwo King gets a job, starts to focus on the getting started with his life kind of stuff. I mean, he was a great brawler, but in many ways, like I said, I think for a lot of people that I talk to, Brawl definitely can't afford to have that kind of stuff go on.
Yeah, we definitely can't have that kind of thing. I mean, even accusations of stuff like bracket rigging and splitting, it just makes the community look bad. It's unfortunate, but I hope that next season, I hope there is a next season, let's start with that, but I hope that next season, if it does happen, we don't have any of this drama and everything works out well.
Yeah, it's really tough to show professionalism in your game of choice when your top player says things to other players like, I hope your children have cancer and die slowly. That's definitely not a way to be a role model for someone. And yes, we are talking about you Mewtwo King. That's not cool, man. Not cool at all.
Well, I think it brings up a deeper question, which is, down the line, what do we do to ensure that the people that we have involved in competitive gaming also are hyper aware of the fact that they also have to be a role model? I mean, I know Jason Zimmerman. I know Mewtwo King. He is very much adolescent and very much focused on money to live by so he can play Brawl. And unfortunately, again, I guess nobody's ever sat down and sort of explained to him that, we're not quite there yet. Nobody gets to just play video games. That's not to say that there aren't Halo players, there aren't some Counter-Strike players. I can hear people screaming already. There are. But that's a very, very small amount, and it's going to change as time goes on. The industry isn't established, regardless of what some people would like you to believe. We have a long way to go. It's not going to grow if we don't create role models and mimic some of the best practices in professional sports. I think Sundance always talks about, you can talk trash, but standing up, shaking hands, that's just sort of a metaphor for sportsmanship and all the key elements that make sports sports. So that is important.
So according to Sundance to Giovanni's Twitter, someone out there in the world wants to open a game studio for MLG devoted to building the ultimate competitive shooter. Apparently it's supposed to take around 2 years and around $20 million for the project. And Sundance has tweeted there is a way to do this with no extended risk to MLG. What are your guys' thoughts on this? This sounds like it could be huge if this works out the way that MLG wants it to.
Well, with no extended risk to MLG, pretty much that means this person is trying to get their name out there in developing games and really just taking his own risk and maybe trying to get the MLG name on it to help, promote the game once it becomes made. Honestly, with no risk to MLG, this is a really great thing to have and help the person who's opening this up make the best competitive shooter that MLG's ever known.
Yeah, let me give a little bit of sort of backstory here. This theory of creating this has been tried once before. I'm not going to give everybody an ancient history lesson. And, it didn't quite turn out. There's a lot of speculation and joking about, who is it. But I suspect that Sundance has a very good ability to pick out people who are good and can trust. Here's my thought. Here's my belief. Mike Sepso has started his own company, Legion Funding, and they're obviously investing in startup companies who are targeting specifically young men, teens, college students, things like that. And it would seem to me that one really awesome opportunity could be to invest in a video game development company. They tend to get bought out. It's a way for end game for investors to get their money back on a buyout. So there's a lot of attraction there. And competitive gaming makes for a great niche market. When you want to jump into creating a game, most people try to avoid jumping in, doing what everybody else is doing. Try to find some area that's not being served, establish your credibility, get your product out there, connect with that community. Competitive gaming, specifically at the level that Major League Gaming wants to have it, is a niche that's not being served. And I think a first-person shooter, specifically for the console, that would meet that level of a rigid technical standard, I think would be fantastic. I would be a huge supporter of it, a fan of it. I've told Sundance that. I think it could do a lot of great things for competitive gaming, because I think most competitive gamers are so frustrated with developers because of, just the business landscape. developers cater to casual players. They're the majority, and they want things that go boom. They want stress release. They want their noob tubes. They want the ability to get cheap kills, all that stuff. And competitive gamers want it to be about skill.
Exactly. And that might be where problem down the road this company runs into is they might find that sales of the game and stuff like that might not be as high. Obviously, you might see them lean more towards the what every other developer is doing after a few titles come out, probably. Especially since the whole goal of this is probably in their minds to make money. To make money, you have to appeal to the randoms more than the competitive gamers. Unfortunately, that's where we're at right now.
No, I don't think it's a bad idea either. I mean, I think you want a company to be as successful as possible. But with Major League Gaming's knowledge capital, they do know how to set settings. They have a pretty good process down to determine what is the most balanced, what is the most fair way. There is a large competitive gaming community who also gives their input. So, I mean, it seems to me like a really good fit. And Major League Gaming could lend their brand. They could probably help promote it and sell it. So there's a lot that Major League Gaming could do. And I know a lot of people have spoken about pricing. How would you price it? I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that, Activision has said publicly they would consider a monthly fee type scenario for those of you who play MMOs, something similar to an MMO where you pay a monthly fee for a game. And even though that's not traditionally what we expect for console games or PC games, when I think about the kind of model I would use in a competitive game, if you have the right engine and you have the right knowledge capital, it might be the kind of game where somebody would pay a monthly fee because it's consistently being updated. There are new maps coming out all the time. There are new competitive settings being tweaked. The engine is being used for different genres of games. So, I mean, there are many different kinds of opportunities. Could you get direct support for coaching in the game? Could you get direct support to make it easier to broadcast or spectate? There are a lot of options that a developer could do that would be very friendly to competitive gaming. Would we be willing to spend money to play it? That's the question. Definitely, I think it's worth exploring. To be honest, $20 million is not a lot of money, not for video game development. So if that budget is true, and 2 years is not a long development cycle, it would be very interesting to see if, whoever the team is there can put it together and then get it out of the gate.
Well, with that knowledge being said, 2 years and $20 million, they must have an engine in their mind already that they're going to be using to make the game.
I'm going to agree with Jerry on this. I think the monthly fee model would probably be a good way for them to go. I'm going to one-up that. I'm going to say if they're going on such a small budget and they want to get the game out to as many people as possible, why not have the game start out where anybody can download it for free, such as Xbox Live title? Why not something like that where it's downloadable? If it's PC game, downloadable through the internet, and then go the monthly fee from there. Almost like a modified like League of Legends or other free-to-play game where they have, you pay for certain items. Why not you pay for the patches, things like that? You pay for the updates. That could be something that they could do, and that would justify a smaller budget because that would mean that everybody's going to be able to get to play the game. A monthly fee from that point on, that would help develop the game. It makes sense.
For those of you who don't know, there's a company called DFC Intelligence. They're based out of San Diego, California, and what they are is they sort of one of the companies that specializes in video game marketing research. They do a lot of surveys, they do a lot of research to sort of talk about what gamers are interested in. So if you get a chance, you can look it up. You can probably Google, like I said, it's DFC Intelligence. And what I sort of get looking at some of their reports and what they've been talking about is they did something on the free-to-play market in the U.S. specifically. So think of games like Crossfire as an example. That's a free-to-play game. And I don't believe at the end of the day that, and this is just to say off the top of my head, I don't think the item mall or purchasing item is the way to go. But, and I mean this, I'm not so quick to just throw that idea away because that may be a way to bring in the casual audience. But at the middle of October, they released a port called the Market for English Language Client-Based Free-to-Play PC Games. And I understand that this is, for the PC. But again, Xbox Live has a lot of flexibility in how it can do things. And I think at the end of the day, there might be an opportunity to do some really cool stuff. And I think it would be good for Major League Gaming. And want to point something else out, too. Technology is consistently changing. We're sitting here talking about the Xbox 360. 2 years from now, what will be the advances to Xbox Live, next-generation consoles, cloud gaming, using servers kind of like the OnLive model, but that tweaked even further? I mean, there's a lot of different options. Fortunately for Major League Gaming, they're a LAN-centered type of, it's all about LAN events, so I mean, they don't have to worry about a lot of that. But I'm just saying that if they know and trust the team that wants to head this up, it seems to me like a no-brainer. All right, everybody, I want to thank you for listening to, as Jason mentioned, the Meaning of Life episode, Losers Bracket Round 42. I want to thank our sponsors, SteelSeries. Thank you very much for all the headsets. Control Freak, thank you for sponsoring our arcade challenge. MusicSkins.com, thank you for giving us free skins on all different kinds of products. And GamersLogo.net, as well as Custom Ink. Want to give a shout out to the VVV community and also to the VVV staff, as Doomhammer and I take this off season to rake in some money. We're going to need the staff to step up and run a lot of the site day to day while we focus on both the time commitment in our day jobs as well as some really cool strategy stuff for 2011. So I want to remind everybody that you can also go to our podcast homepage at the Podbean site, vvvgaming.podbean.com. Always know that if you can't catch us on our site, go ahead and download us from iTunes. Take us with you. I know a lot of people have commented recently, stuck in traffic or bored. Thank God for the Losers Bracket. So definitely use iTunes, or you can get us on Zune. I also want to remind you that when you are on the Podbean site, our other show, Directional Influence, which took a week off, should be back on, hosted by our former co-host, VV Rapture. And you can always email us at thelosersbracket@vvv-gaming.com. And you can find us on Twitter, where we are simply known as Losers Bracket. I want to thank you all for listening to the show, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks for listening, everybody. Take care. We'll see you soon.